All right, boys, we got rookie minicamp. The vets are back. Football's back. Well, sort of back, but, it's back enough for us to talk about. Plenty to talk about. A couple of guys helped me do it. Let's get going. And welcome in, folks. It's episode 172 of Out of Your Falcon Mind, Atlanta Falcons fan cast. My name is John, your host. Not joined by Mike again because he's a good friend. He told a buddy that he would help him move today. And even though, as I was telling Joe and Adam here, that he's, my age, he's 42 and should not be helping anybody move at this point. Like, the move credits end at 40. Like, that's when you just say, like, you got to pay somebody because it's done.
He needs beer that bad. He needs beer that bad.
I don't know. Like, I was like, dude, look, I mean, you're a good friend. You're a damn good friend. So you go help your buddy move. That's cool. But anyway, but we're trying to get a show on Thursday night. So Mike will be here for that one, if in case we get that show going. So, anyway, but like I said, do have two guys here. Joe Patrick from 929 The Game back on the show for the second time. Thanks for being here, buddy.
Good to be here, man. It's exciting time to talk some Falcons football after today. Especially.
It really is. And then and y'all know Damski, man. Y'all know Adam has been on the show several times. We've done the draft. And I told, it's kind of funny because Adam, he just I sent him a text yesterday and I was like, hey, retweet this or whatever. And he's like, shit, man, have me on. I'm like, okay, just come on. Because we've always had his schedule's always crazy. My schedule's always crazy. So we can never I just told him a long time ago. I was like, look, whenever you can, you just join. That's fine. Like, you have an open invitation. If you can come on, come on. So here he is. So Adam, appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, no problem, man. I'm on a weird vacation week from my work, and I told myself I wasn't going to do any football things, but I tried to stay off Twitter, but I was like, got rookie minicamp, you got OTAs, and it's just prime content time and prime look at Joe Patrick's Twitter feed for videos of Michael Penix throwing out routes.
Yeah, man. It's just the same, dude. Like, that's kind of like it's been our new thing to get the show started. Like, what's new? Like, Joe, I'm sure you're not busy at all. Like, it's pretty slow time for you. So what's happening in your world, man? Outside of
Yeah, no, obvious. It's good. I also cover Atlanta United, the soccer team here, so that's kind of a totally different story. They're not doing so great, but been busy with them. But also, yeah, I mean, getting Meg up there last week for rookie minicamp was great. It's always good to just talk to the players and talk to the people at the team, because you go through this long period in the off season where you're going from talking to them almost every day of the week And then it really kind of shuts off because these teams are so secretive throughout this pre-draft process. They don't want to give away anything. And of course, there are a few media events with owners meetings and combines and such, but you don't really get a lot of like real nice, like quality in-person time with them until this time of year when the guard's down. You know, everybody's excited about the players they've acquired and brought in and everything. So yeah, it's just been a lot of fun, honestly.
I bet. Adam, what about you, buddy? Like, what's your boy playing football? What's happening up there up north?
Yeah. We're right in the thick of things. He's had practice for about a month and a half now for tackle. We have our first tournament this weekend in Ohio. So we'll be up there. He came off back-to-back MVP tournaments in sevens, including beating former receiver Torrey Smith's sevens team called Level 82. They were on NFL Network.
Let's go.
And Torrey Smith came up to my son after throwing 5 touchdowns. Said, "Keep up, kid. You're gonna go far." So it's pretty crazy. Like, so it's been a very successful off season and grind in, and then my high school is picking up now. I don't know if I didn't really announce it, but they moved me up to senior varsity football.
Dude, congrats,
man. That was terrible. So yeah, it's a whole new stress. I feel like I'm on steroids, just like drinking coffees, trying to figure out what to do and how to condition. I've been doing like kind of coaching clinics, just trying to catch up on new stuff and just the grind of football. And then I finally got back into soccer, so I've been watching Real Madrid. That was my off season, so it's trying to keep myself a little bit busy with everything sports. Just kind of try to keep up with Joe Patrick, you know.
Hey man, thank God for Joe, buddy. Because like, yeah, I mean, I've been.
What about you, John?
Yeah. What are you up
to? Okay, well, my kid's just he's done with 8th grade here in like 4 or 5 days, which is insane to me. Yeah, it's like it's like your parents always tell you when you're growing up, like, time goes much faster for us. Like, you don't understand. I was like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, they're 100% right. Like, it doesn't seem at all like he should be going into high school next year. But I was like, Amanda told me like 3 weeks ago, she's like, I don't know when you're going to record this next month. She's like, our schedule is packed. I'm like, yeah, it'll be fine. And she posts the calendar on the wall. She's super organized. Thank God, because I'm not. I'm the exact opposite. So she has like everything listed, and I just happened to glance at it one morning. I was like, oh shit, I don't know when I'm going to record. Like, that's true. Like, I don't know if that's going to happen. So I told Michael, my dude, I don't know. And it's kind of worked out. Mike's been out of town for work. But Liam's got baseball damn near every weekend, and he's got to throw a bullpen on Thursday. He's got practice on Wednesday. He's got hitting lessons, or we'll go hit on Tuesday. Most of the time on Tuesday. Tonight he's just going out for a run. Then he's in a steel band, so he plays steel drums. He's like the only this middle school he's in is the only steel drum band in the state of Georgia. So he's been doing that for 2 years. He had a concert this last week. He plays bass in the orchestra, so he's had 2 concerts in the last 3 weeks there to finish out the year. So it's just been like
the most interesting kid in the world.
I mean, Alberto, our buddy, he asked me, he's like, dude, what does your kid not do? I'm like, I don't know. If it makes me feel like a loser, I was like, because that's not what I was doing at his age, like at all. Like I was like, man, this is impressive, buddy. But yeah, so that's just we've just been slammed, buddy. It's just been one thing. And I, like you, Adam, like I tried to I had to almost kind of lay off Twitter for a bit anyway. Yeah. But like as soon as rookie minicamp started, I'm like, okay, I gotta
all in.
Back in. So it's like, yeah, we got to get going.
Yeah, I actually have a daughter too that's graduating this year, but our school system is September to June instead of your guys' August to May, I think, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and my daughter's going to high school, and I've been taking that a little extra MMA classes.
Damn right.
So I gotta, throw some hammers out there.
Well, will Croy be kind of protective, or is he is he already that way, or is he don't really care?
He's very protective, but also my daughter's obviously I'm a coach, so she's around the football team, and she's going to the high school that I coach at. And I know a lot of the people, and then a lot of people I went to high school with are actually teachers there. So she doesn't really know how screwed she is that I'm going to have 24 hours.
Yeah, she doesn't stand a chance, poor girl.
No, she doesn't. I feel bad for her.
Yeah, man. Well, before we jump into it, let's say hello to the chat one time. Jack, what's going on, man? You posted that. When did you post that? 7:30. Yeah, you were way early, dude. So yeah, I appreciate you coming by though. And by the way, you guys, before I forget, and I'll say it at the end of the show as well. But if you guys plan on going to any away games this year, the Rise Up Tour, the way to do it, Jack runs it, does a phenomenal job. He partly runs it. But just go. I'll post a link in the description of this video. They're doing a flash sale for membership, I think through midnight tomorrow. And it's like I said, it's if you're gonna travel to the away games, they do stuff together as groups. It's literally the only way to do it. So make sure y'all tap into the Rise Up Tour if y'all plan on doing that. Billy Mills, what's cracking, man? He said, what's going on? And we're going to get into this. He said, if it's true that we get Arthur Smith in Pittsburgh week 1, we can embarrass him early. And yeah, we're going to talk about that for sure. Kerry, what's going on? Good to see you. Definitely hit the like button. We appreciate that. Yeah. And if you look, I didn't even get through the whole intro. Like if y'all are new to the show, welcome. It's been a while. I've done like 3 shows in 3 months, so I'm a little off my game a little bit. So y'all can, but yeah, if y'all are new to the show, man, welcome in. Like I said, we're missing Mike tonight. But like I said, he'll be back on Thursday. But hit the like, subscribe if you haven't already. We'll be bringing more Falcons content to you now that things are kind of getting ramped up for the summer. And of course, during the season, we will come to you live twice a week doing a preview and a recap show. Having guests like these guys on when we can. It gets a little busier during the season, so it's always good to get the guests on the off season. And two, guys, if you're watching this on X or Twitter, you guys, your comments will now show up in our chat, so feel free to post, and we'll get you. We'll try to get you in as far as the comments go as well. Said Mike's a good friend now. So he is a good friend. Like he would do it for me. So like, I mean, good for Mike going out there and getting it done. And Father Melissa, because Mike isn't here, I'll say it. Damski the Mansky with the Plansky.
I feel like Mike's here now.
There you go. There you go. DJ, what's going on, man? Good to see you, buddy. Cool stuff I want to share. Yeah, Steelers Falcons leaked for week 1. We're going to find out tomorrow for sure. Ohio Sports Talk, what's up, boys? He said I got to coach Chris Henry Jr. 2 seasons ago. Nice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there you go. And you might I don't know if you're aware of these guys, Damski. You'll probably want to hook up with them too. They just started their Ohio Sports Talk not long ago, so good show for Ohio sports fans.
I'm all about it. Joe's actually an Ohio
Buckeye. Yeah. I've got that
there you go.
Right, it's kind of behind a picture, but the top of that football right there is signed by the 2002 national championship team.
There you go.
Everybody, but there's like a few players missing, unfortunately.
And how'd you end up?
Me and Joe, we played the tell. Just to make sure we got together with the Alabama guy.
Of course. But now, how did you become a Ohio State fan, Joe? Were you from around there, or just like that's just a team you picked when you were little?
So
or what?
I didn't grow up there. I mean, I went to Middle Tennessee State for college. I mean, I grew up around here, but my family's all from Ohio, and so since I didn't end up going to a football school, I was just stuck with the school that I kind of grew up rooting for, and so like that ball was gotten for me by my my aunt was a nurse with Mike Nugent's mom. Mike Nugent was the kicker of that team, and obviously had like a long NFL career. And then my other aunt was also a teacher, and she worked with AJ Hawk's mom, so kind of like have some connections there.
Dude, good Lord.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
And then actually, my biggest claim to fame is I know a guy who was Brutus the Buckeye. So at like a house, I went up there for Columbus for a weekend. At like a house party on the Friday night, I had drunkenly had the Brutus head on my.
That's amazing.
Brutus head on. It's a hockey helmet in there. Is what they use.
No, is that before social media really kicked in, or is that after that?
Let's hope so. Yeah, it was probably the social media era, but it was early. So,
dude,
thank goodness.
I am so glad if social media was around when we were in college. Like, there's so many bad things that would be out there. Like, I'm so thankful that came afterwards. Stuff I would not want my kid to see.
Yeah.
It's funny. I've got our Mark Ingram signed football downstairs, and I was so happy about it, and then it broke my heart when the freaking Saints drafted him. I'm like, God damn, man, like of all the teams he had to go to, man.
Welcome to us, Buckeyes fans. Every Buckeye goes to the Saints.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah. Kerry, not a fan of Real Madrid, buddy. Let's see, where was I at here? Oh, what's going on, Wade? John, Damski, Joe, and everyone in the chat. Hope y'all are doing well and enjoying rookie camp. So let's not open against Arthur Smith as we start out hot. Let's play them in week 3. I don't know, man. Like, it could. I don't know. Like what would you rather do, Joe? Would you rather play in like week one? Let's get it out of the way. Or would you want to get some time with? I mean, like, because they're both going to be there's new systems for both teams, right? So it's like
right. Yeah, I don't know what's more kind of advantageous for either one. I think you would. Well, I don't know because like they're both running new offensive systems. So
right,
and especially I guess I would actually take the Falcons earlier in the year. I think that it gives them maybe a little bit of an edge because they have a more veteran quarterback as opposed to one of these younger guys for Pittsburgh. Well, I guess Pittsburgh's got Russell Wilson. He's veteran too. So, gosh, I don't know if there's an edge one way or the other. But I've been looking forward to the game because I was talking to John before we went live. It's like when Arthur Smith was fired, I had a good relationship with him. And when you're covering the team and you're fortunate enough to be someone like I am, who's like, allowed to be up there, like fully dedicated to covering them. And I'm talking to Arthur, a few times a week. And then they're just kind of cut out of your life when they're gone. It's kind of crazy how you just like all of a sudden have this line of communication stop. So I've actually been looking forward to that game just to hopefully reconnect with him for a little bit. Cause he was always good to us in the media. He'd just like come over and chat it up with us, and a really cool guy. I know that he doesn't have that kind of reputation with a lot of fans, but I think if you kind of had the relationship that we did, you would, maybe feel more fond of him because he is really kind of down to earth.
I always appreciated his dry sense of humor. Like I dig that, like you could kind of tell, like, and he was probably not the same way with you guys as he was like kind of like standoffishness, I guess, not standoffish, but kind of, that kind of brood personality.
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Like I would see like the change, like the mode change. Yeah.
But yeah. And I don't want to get because people will get mad at me, so I'm not going to rehash any of that. But yeah, Jordan, dude, anytime, man. Let me know. I'll be happy to come on. I don't know. I mean, if I don't know a lot about Ohio sports, but maybe I can get Adam to accompany me, and we can tag team it. But yeah, that'd be fun, man.
You could tell him about Caleb Downs though. That's a sweet spot for John.
Okay, I couldn't even get like, what are we, like 16 minutes into the show and Caleb Downs is in my face.
Sorry, John. I swear, I promise you that'll be my only one today.
All right, well, we'll just wait till the season starts, and then I'll get it every week.
I don't think John's buying that.
Yeah. No. All right, so Joe, we and you kind of briefly talked on the Falcoholic podcast on day 3 of the draft, and we kind of briefly gave our kind of what our initial thoughts were of the draft, and so I kind of know that already. But like, so has your opinion, since now you've had the chance to kind of be around the rookies, speak with them, whatever, since then, like, has it changed since that night or the day after or the couple of days after? Like, how are you feeling about the class now compared to how you felt like about right afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, I think the class is fine. I obviously the Penix one was a big deal, and I don't know if anybody's heard like my thoughts on that, but I'm kind of like a lot of people where I was upset, didn't really know what to think about it at first. It was really puzzling. And then when you did hear the logic, it made more sense. And then the way I've now started to think about it, and if you want it to like make sense, we don't have to rehash the whole argument, but like,
no, go ahead.
For example, I would hear people say like, oh, well, if Jaden Daniels were to fall to 8, you think the Falcons should take him? Probably a lot of people would probably say, yeah, because he was their second best quarterback. Well, that's what Michael Penix was for this Falcons organization. And like when I was talking to them, and I was trying to do my best, especially that night after they picked him, to kind of like drill down into like why they felt so strongly about this particular player. Because I was like, Terry, why not just like, normally if you have a developmental quarterback, you just use like a 3rd or 4th round pick on it, not a first rounder. That seems kind of crazy. And he's like, and his answer was like, yeah, we would do that if there was a 3rd or 4th round pick that we really believed in, but we believe in Michael Penix, and the cost is then to draft him where we drafted them. And so that's what it really comes down to, is just the fact that they believe in him so much. And you hear the argument that's like, I love the player, but I don't love, taking him here or whatever. And I think just like the Falcons love him even more than you do. Like that's just, the Falcons just love Michael Penix. And since we've been able to talk to him, I think he's just been super impressive, not just when he's talked to us, but I've heard him like talk on some other podcasts and stuff. And for, I think, obvious reasons, you kind of hear people try to like, I'm going to say, quote unquote, trap him, not like necessarily in a bad faith way, but they just kind of want to get his opinion on whether he feels like this way or that way in regards to his situation, behind Kirk Cousins, and he just doesn't take the bait, and he doesn't kind of give in to this like either or kind of answer, which I think is like really, it speaks to like the level of wisdom that he has at his age. And I know a lot of people have also made the argument, it's like, well, if he's an older prospect, so he should be ready to start sooner. I mean, I don't know if I fully buy that. I mean, I think that actually him being a little bit older allows him to kind of settle into this situation and be more calm about it, as opposed to maybe being younger and wanting to kind of still feel like you have to make that impact. And I think that he knows he's going to get his chance 100% guaranteed, barring any sort of catastrophe. So I think that he's fitting in great with the Falcons, and I think the Falcons got to be thrilled with what they have. And he looks great when he's throwing the ball, and again, it's just against air and stuff, but you really can't tell when you're there and you're seeing, Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke throw balls all season, you gotta get a feel for like how they throw, and Marcus Mariota, by the way. And then you see, just like, it's just a different level of arm talent, which is fun. You don't know how that's actually going to translate when it's 11 on 11, 100% in a regular season game. But he's got some time to make sure that he can kind of get refined enough to make it so that his arm talent is working for him. And, I'm excited for the whole thing. And as it relates to the rest of the class, I mean, I like the ideas. I like, reinforcing that defensive line, trying to build it up. I think that the theme was kind of, a longer term outlook for this team, with regards to Penix and with a lot of these players that they drafted on the defensive side. I do find it interesting. I just want to throw this in, and then that'll be my last word. I'll kind of toss back to you guys. But it's funny to me when you see, obviously the consternation over Penix, not so great feeling about Rukaroro because of the trade up to get him, which I get totally understandable. But then it's like when the Falcons pick Braylon Trice and Brandon Dorlus, and those are kind of the names that are still on the top of like Mel Kiper's best available, or like, the pundits online still had him available and he was their best option. Great pick. It's a great pick, and applaud the Falcons for that. And everybody's in agreement with that. And I just think that there's like, you should have an open mind as to the level of randomness that will occur with these players' careers, no matter how we think about them after the draft. And I think that there's just kind of, it inputs like a bias that we now have as one of our prior preconceptions of these players, of where Brandon Dorlus and Braylon Trice were good picks, and therefore they're going to like develop better, whatnot. And I think it's just, time will tell with those players. But, it's always really impressive. The past couple of years I've been covering this team, just when you get to talk to the players, just how impressive they are as people. And I think that's something that they really care a lot about, is bringing in like, quality people as well as players. And I think that you can't really go wrong with that strategy.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I think, to piggyback on that, it seems like mock drafts have really clouded our minds like where players should go. And like, because you see so many of them from really January, hell, probably December on through until the the draft, of like where these guys are going to go, or where the media pundits, whoever, think they should go. And then when that doesn't happen, because they don't understand that NFL teams may see these players differently than fans do, or differently than the media does, and everybody thinks, what the hell? There's no way that guy can go there, But then it's just different trains of thoughts. What about you, Adam? Was you still, since the draft? I know we were on the draft night together. We weren't happy, but I mean, like, since then, like, how you feeling?
Yeah, just to piggyback off the mock draft thing, I was scrolling Twitter and I seen somebody make a mock draft for 2 years out, which is like crazy, right? I'm like, that's wild. But
who's picking
I think,
in 2 years?
Right?
Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just like I don't know. I guess that's people's jobs, but it is what it is. But I mean, my reaction on draft night with Penix is what it was. And like I made sure to hammer home the fact that I like the player. The pick is what screwed with my head. It was like, because like I didn't even think this was even on the radar. And like Terry said, that's exactly what we want everyone to think, because like very truly, like on draft night, as soon as we drafted him, there was like 3 teams that wanted to move up into the 10 for Penix. So I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Like sometimes one thing I was read that like, they like way overdrafted him based on consensus boards. With I go off consensus boards as well, but then I was listening to guys that are plugged in the league, like Daniel Jeremiah, Nate Tice, Robert Mays, and stuff like that. Even though Nate Tice hated the pick, he said sometimes that sometimes the consensus board is wrong when everybody in the league views it a different way. So it seemed like the league was higher on Penix than the consensus was outside of the league. So, I mean, that's the case to build for like rationalizing that pick. Like I said, ever since then, watching the OTAs, watching how he handled himself, even me just going back and watching some film. I actually know my buddy. He works closely with the University of Washington staff. So I was able to talk to him and just pick his brain about it. He went and seen him live in person. He said, when you see him throw live in person, you'll get like a better understanding for the arm talent he has. And I didn't even have to see it live in person. I see him. It's kind of damning. You see Kirk Cousins throwing out, and like I know it's OTAs and I know it's 7-on-7, but throwing Kirk Cousins is more of a timing. It's like perfect on time, bang. And Penix is like, oh, I got a second, bang. It's like there right away. So that's like it's just exciting to see that much zip on a ball because we have not seen that. Even Matt's prime. Matt's always been a timing thrower, so Matt was really good on deep balls because he was really good to get them on time. And then Julio Jones being Julio Jones. It was honestly probably since Vic or Byron Leftwich. Byron Leftwich had a cannon too, but he just wasn't good. I remember him. But honestly, the pick that threw me the most was the Rukororo pick. There's just for me, it was just other players that I thought fit better. Rook's very raw from the film that I've seen, so that's just going off what I've seen. I like when they traded up, I was like, this is Cooper DG 100%. I just thought he fit like that Fangio style defense, being that force player, and then it's fitting that the Eagles go and draft him where Vic Fangio is, and I'm just like, well, at least my mind was in the right spot, but the results was insane. But yeah, I was very much. Braylon Trice is a good little pass rusher, but Brandon Dorlus was by far my favorite pick in the draft. He's been a favorite of mine for about 2 years now. When I was watching Kayvon Thibodeau film like 2 years ago, Brandon Dorlus pops all the time. Like he's just, and I said this, and I was talking to a guy that scouted him. He's just one of those guys that can play anywhere from like 6 tech in, and like that's just a nightmare to deal with. And the way that we're going to be playing like a 5-man front and having like matchups everywhere, like just having a guy that can play like so many spots and be like, here, play over the center, here, play over the guard, here, go and attack go pin him on a tackle so we can loop around. Like it's just I really feel like that's an underrated pick that's going to probably play a long time in the league. That's just my opinion. JD Bertrand he's a fun little player. I've seen lots from him. And I'm just curious, like he seems like he's going to be one of those guys that's going to be stuck in the film room and in the weight room. You're going to have to like physically kick him out to get him out. So he seems like a guy that could fit right into this scheme. And then that receiver that we dropped, I forget his name, but I just see everybody like, oh, this is our Puka Nacua. I'm like, I feel like it doesn't work like that. I feel like there's not a Puka Nacua in every single draft. But like he is big, he's physical, he fits the archetype. So I'm excited. I do like the Rook pick probably threw me more than the Penix pick, and people will probably say that's crazy, but I actually liked Penix. It's just where he was picked by us, and then obviously Kirk Cousins and outside factors factored in on that for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, and like hopefully said here, they liked Rook's length. Yeah, I mean, he's got, next level type length. If you're looking at like the measurables and everything, and like Adam said, I mean, he's definitely, you're betting on what he can do at his ceiling, and it's probably when you look at, you've got Grady and you have Onyemata, like it's two great guys from to learn from, kind of like Penix. Like you don't have that pressure to come in and be like a guy from the start. You've got some time to learn from these guys and really kind of. Jay Rogers, I'm sure, is going to put his handprints all over the dude before it's like you just mold him how he wants, how he prefers him to play. And it was interesting. I listened to Brandon Dorlus talk. He was saying that basically the way Jay teaches was completely opposite of what he learned at Oregon. So he's having to kind of like, I was like, damn, what are they teaching at Oregon then? Because like they're having to like, it can't be that different, but I guess maybe it can. But it's just personalities wise, man. Like Joe, it looks like Rook is like nonstop energy. Like, I mean, just listening to him talk, he's just like that dude. He's just like always. It's like Mike. He's just always up.
Yeah.
Like, always up.
Exactly. He's like a puppy dog. He's just full of spunk. Yeah.
Yeah, and Dorless seems kind of similar, like kind of just like very like kind of like fun-loving guy. Then you got Braylon, who seems like Braylon seems like a mean, like good way, like just like he determined. Just wants to, like I'm just gonna go through whoever's in front of me for whatever, so it's like that, and it's awesome to, I guess y'all might have heard by now, folks listening, the story that Zion and Rook and Dorless, they were all at the combine together, and they were all like,
crazy.
Like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we ended up on the same team? Like, there's the chance that's like winning the lottery type chance. It's like, right, it's got to be like insanely high, and like, and then they end up on the same team together. So here they are, which is hilarious. But just, I mean, what from the press conferences, Joe, like from those guys talking, even Coach Raheem talking, like what anything that's kind of stand out to you, like kind of like catch your like, man, like that was, I didn't expect that, or just something new.
Yeah, Rook is definitely one of those guys where as a media member, you're like really excited for him. Like if you know you're going to talk to him, or you see him walking up, or you just like can't wait for the conversation to start, because you don't know, where it's going to go. And he's so fun loving. And I thought something he had to say was, it kind of made me chuckle at the time. But I was like, yeah, that's a good point. Where he's like, someone was like, what are you looking to improve the most or whatever at this camp? He's like, I just need to learn more about football. He's like that really, I just need to learn more about the sport of football, because I haven't been playing it for that long. And it made me think, like, damn, that's true. Like you
say 7 years,
he started
right?
playing his junior year of high school, and and there's a lot to it that you pick up, these little kind of nuances of the game that you pick up over the years. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I love talking to JD Bertrand. He went to the same high school I did, so that's kind of cool connection. We haven't talked about it a ton, but I did mention it to him last time. But he
seem to love him.
Yeah, they love him. They absolutely love him. I think they were ecstatic that he was still around for them to take with that 5th pick. And I heard that there were teams interested in that pick, that the Falcons specific pick there for 5th, perhaps to draft JD. And they obviously love what he's made up of. And I asked him about it. I had heard that he'd had these, relationships with Luke Kuechly, James Laurinaitis, obviously his position coach at Notre Dame, hooked him up with some of these guys, Sean Lee, another one from the Dallas Cowboys. And for a player, it's not just that he's got the connection. It's not just that someone put him in touch and he makes these phone calls or whatever, but the fact that he, at his age, like, is looking out for that for himself in his career, to like be in touch with these types of players. Just to have that kind of forethought into improving your own game, I think it just speaks to a level of not just maturity in terms of like, asking your coaches for help, and kind of being vulnerable like that, but also just like the planning and diligence and discipline to want to do it is, to me, really, really exciting. I think that's what the Falcons love about him. And I think that they have an immediate use for him, both as a rotational linebacker, but also on special teams. And I think there's a lot of hope that he can grow into a lot. So, it's just a really good group, honestly. And to kind of bring it back, the Falcons, they put a lot of stock in the character stuff. And I know for some people that might be off-putting, because some people don't want to like judge players based on, certain preferences that they have in their personal lives or whatnot. But, the Falcons take it into account. And I think that it shows when you go into the locker room. And, Mike Rothstein, my friend who works for ESPN, was on the beat, obviously, last year. He made this point last year after they lost that brutal game in Carolina. And I was in that locker room too. I traveled for it, and it was like a funeral in there after that game. And Mike made the point of saying that every person that he went up and talked to, and he talked to a lot of people, no one turned him down. And they have every right to turn you down. I mean, they can just say, I don't want to talk. And you would get it, honestly. In that circumstance, if it were me, like, I would understand if someone was like, no, I can't do it right now. But everybody talked. And I think that just speaks to, to this kind of diligence that they put into making sure they get the right guys in that locker room. And I think when you go inside, I wish everybody could take a look, but when you're in there in a, week 8 in the middle of the season after practice, these guys love each other, they're like having fun and talking each other up. And it's kind of funny. The lockers are all it's all pretty much random. Like Bijan is wedged between like Ryan Newsel and like somebody else. and they become best friends. And so it's just kind of like good to see these different personalities interact, and I think it's just representative in this draft class as well.
Yeah, I think Raheem called talking about JD. I think they called him a ready-made vet as a rookie, basically. Like, I mean, that's a hell of a thing. I mean, and like you said, I mean, if he's got guys like Laurinaitis and Lee and Kuechly helping him through film study, I mean, that's pretty solid to have somebody like that, like at that young and that young in your career. That's phenomenal, man. So, also looking at Braylon, they asked him kind of, I think, you were there, obviously. They asked him about how he kind of viewed his play style or whatever. And he was just kind of like, man, this is a cold world. And like, I'm going to go through everything in front of me to get, they're between me and my money or my life. So I'm going to go through them, and it's, and some people forgot, like he did play for Jimmy Lake for, the season while he was there. So he's kind of familiar with already what he's going to do, or some of this, but he did say like, definitely some things have changed for sure. And he's going to have a different defensive line coach, but he's one of those guys that you can see almost like stepping in immediately, just for alone, the edge we have at edge alone with Bud Dupree now going over to the Chargers. We still don't know what Calais is going to do. So it's like, I can see Braylon stepping in early and having an impact.
I mean, and listen, it's OTAs, it's May, so this is like we're nowhere close to setting starting lineups or whatever. But I saw him in today with Arnold Ebiketie in the Falcons, like what looked to be their base nickel package with their starters. So yeah, I think he's definitely in the running to be a guy who's playing. I always never like this. I don't like to say starter because like it's funny. The starters who might come in for the base package on the first play might actually, some of them might play very few snaps. But yeah, I could definitely see Trice being a guy who plays 60% of snaps or more, which would qualify you as a starter in my book.
Yeah, and I mean, we spoke briefly about Casey Washington, but like, I mean, there was somebody in our chat a few weeks ago that said like he's going to be the sleeper pick of this draft, and I don't know if they were just bullshitting or if they were like serious, but like it looks like he's had a pretty good couple of days.
He had a nice diving catch today, right on the sideline. It was beautiful. Yeah, and the guy is freaking built. I mean, he's got arms. Like again, I didn't know who he was, honestly. Like 6th round. He's like barely in Nate Brugler's beast thing. It's like I have no idea what the guy looks like, and so they have all these players around. And I was on the rookie minicamp day, and I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure this is Casey Washington. So I just know he's not. I know this isn't any of the other players that I know what they look like. So this must be Casey Washington. But this guy's arms are freaking massive. Like I thought he was a wide receiver, and yeah, I mean the guy is built, which is impressive. And he ran good numbers too. I mean he had good testing numbers. He just didn't really have didn't produce a lot in college because he had, I think, a kind of a weird situation. So I think that again, it's kind of a bet on the traits by the Falcons in this one.
Yeah, I agree. And looking at what they were, just hearing what Penix was saying, and also hearing what Kirk was saying in his interview as well at the press conference. It seems like not you, but it seems like some of the media is trying to kind of bait Kirk into like this controversy that's not really a controversy. You know what I mean? Like several questions about Michael and how he felt and everything, and it's every time he was like, yeah, I'm trying to win a Super Bowl. Like I'm trying to win, like we're all one team working for the same goal. We're in the same, like the quarterback room we're all one force working for the same goal. They asked Raheem and he's like, and this is the thing I took from Raheem's press conference. And I loved what he said. He was like, the onus is really more on Michael than it is on Kirk.
Yep.
Like that was the favorite thing I heard him say. Is like it's not on Kirk to build this guy up or help him along. Like it's on Michael to watch what he's doing, to see what he's doing, talk to him, whatever. Because Kirk's trying to win games. Like that's his job right now, and like so it's just that was perfect for me. So it just seems like, I mean, we all know like the most popular guy on the team is a backup quarterback. When the starter's not doing well, like everybody wants to see the backup, right? And we all know that if Kirk has a bad game, there'll be a section of fans that are like, all right, time for Penix. Let's go. Let's get in. And it's, it's not, unless we said on the last show, Joe, I mean, like, unless Kirk literally falls off a cliff, like the performance just goes like away or an injury, like he's going to be starting for 2 years just based on the compensation alone. Right. I mean,
it's pretty cut and dry at this point. It's a 2-year contract. And if you look at the numbers, if you just use, take the numbers that Kirk's going to make these 2 years, and then what Michael Penix is going to make in the years that follow that, on top of the dead cap that will accrue from cutting that contract short with Kirk, they basically made it so that, because the criticism has been, well, they're not going to get the rookie contract. Yeah, that's true. I think that's kind of the Falcons hedging their bet and saying, we don't even care about the rookie. We don't care about a cheap, good quarterback. We just want the good quarterback. We will absolutely take a good quarterback for market price. And for the next 5 years through Michael Penix's deal, they're going to be paying at most, I think, $46 million or something around there for their quarterback room, which is about average for, a top half level quarterback play in this league. And as low as I think it could dip kind of into the 20s toward those, maybe the last couple of years of Michael Penix's deal. So I think the Falcons see that as being, pretty good business and something they're content with. But yeah, I totally agree with you, John, about the onus being on Penix. And I love also Raheem just has this kind of like, he can put this flourish on his little points. And he's like, Michael has to walk in silence in the shadows and watch Kirk and his movements. Like, I love it. It's like, just like watch the way that he carries himself. But it's true. Like you do have, it is good to have models in your life that you can kind of see how they do it so that you can do it. Like when you started your job, you probably had like somebody who showed you how to do what you're doing, or, you had someone who could, who you could follow. They weren't necessarily there to like coddle you the entire time and be your teacher, but you could like look at how they worked and then pick up things and do it for yourself. And so I think that it's just no different in this circumstance. And I think I think the Falcons honestly see a benefit in this. Like, a lot of people are saying, well, why do both Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix? And I think that they kind of see that as part of what makes Penix, what will make him a great player in their minds, is the fact that he won't be relied upon to just come in and be the guy with nobody to kind of be that model for him, that he can watch Kirk as he goes. And there's probably no better model to have than a guy like Kirk Cousins, who, we all watch the Netflix doc, like he prepares like crazy. And, that's what it is for these quarterbacks. Like during the week, they're just like, it's so much studying and just like trying to get your mind mentally ready to play on Sunday. And even going back to Raheem's introductory press conference, that's something that I had one question. It was like tons of media there. I asked him about Zach Robinson. He was like, he's like, I've never seen someone get a player ready to play on Sunday like Zach. And so I think that both he and Kirk will be great influences for Penix when he finally does get his opportunity.
Yeah, that was clear with Baker Mayfield that week that he signed. He was signed on Tuesday and like showed out on Sunday and like put on a show. So yeah, that made sense.
Even to take it to the point, I remember in the quarterback's documentary, I think they showed Kirk would like listen to a play that he would have recorded into his phone when he's on his way when he's just driving. He would just listen to plays and then recite them again, and then just kind of go through them as he's driving. And there was a story told today that, Michael Penix had plays on his phone that he was then using out. This was after practice. He brought his phone out, would listen to a play from his phone, and then he would actually run the play as if he's the quarterback, initiating shifts, sending guys in motion, you doing the cadence, and then calling snap, and then run a gasser down the field 100 yards and back, and then next play. And I don't know, he did several of those, but so you can already kind of see a little bit of that maybe coming to fruition.
Yeah, I understand. I thought it was cool too that Michael, he said that he got the playbook way ahead of time, but some of the guys didn't get it till like a day ahead of time. So he had like a mini walkthrough with those guys before mini camp started. That's a hell of a that's a leadership thing to do right there. Is take those guys, and he said multiple guys were they told him like, hey, that really helped. So. But listen to all his teammates talk about him, especially like Braylon. He said he's different, like a different level of maturity, like for his age, and like even. And Michael talked about, how the injuries wasn't like, obviously you don't want them to happen, but almost a blessing in disguise, because it did teach him how to be more mentally tough, how to deal with things. And like, it's because, coming off an injury like that. I mean, hell, my son, granted he's 14, but he suffered his first injury in January. And like, it's just a different, like when you haven't done it before, and all of a sudden you think you're invincible, and then that happens. It's like, man, like you have to take a step back and kind of reassess things. And, so it definitely, I can see how it's going to make you grow. And it definitely has with him. I just from everything I've seen, the way he handled that press conference, was like, man, you couldn't have like scripted that any better. Every answer he said was like perfectly, no matter what they were asking. It's like he was just boom, 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 boom. And so it was awesome. Adam, anybody, like any of the rookies that you heard on the press conferences, anything stand out to you?
Yeah, I mean the things today with Kirk. I don't know, man. And like it's funny because I'll message Joe and I'll be like, yo, ask him this, like trying to get him to ask him something. But like I honestly feel like Joe, and then the new ESPN guy, I forget his name, but I feel like they're the only ones that are there and like ask football questions. Like and like I appreciate when those come because like I'm listening to the media thing today with Kirk. I'm just like I don't care about any of this stuff. Like
Right.
nobody in this room cares about any of this stuff that you're asking. I'm like it's either like some international reporter or it's somebody just trying to get a quote or I'm like let's ask about Zach Robinson. Let's ask Kirk about his relationship with Zach Robinson or well, like what's some like you know what I mean? Like let's
Yeah,
get to some football questions in that sense.
yeah.
So like I don't know, man. Like that's why for the most part, I don't listen to the press conferences with the quarterbacks because it's usually, specifically right now with Atlanta, they're just it's so bad. It's egging Michael Penix to say a quote or Kirk Cousins to say a quote, basically trying to pin them against each other, and it's just it's frustrating and it's unfortunate that like they can't coincide until Kirk in 2 years probably maybe wants to retire if he has some pretty good success, and then Michael Penix maybe he isn't ready right away for the NFL flow of the way, so maybe sitting a year or two is going to do him good. So like that in that sense, it doesn't make sense, but I won't speak because I know Joe really liked Arthur, but I won't speak ill of
You can.
Arthur.
I don't care.
But
I don't care.
I'll I'll say this that I just feel like when Raheem talks in the press conference, everybody's like happy and excited to like greet and talk with him. I think Arthur was way more standoffish, and
Totally
like
agree.
Raheem's more like, hey, what are your issues? I'll talk them out. Let's talk them out right now. And I feel like it's just Arthur's like so focused on football, and I think in like 5, 6 years he's gonna come back and be a good head coach somewhere. Where Raheem, this is Raheem's second go around, so he's like, hey, I know how to deal with the media. Hey, this is the kind of character I am. Hey, this is what we're gonna do. So like, I feel like that's where you see Arthur being a young head coach, and then Raheem being an experienced coach now, being able to deal with things like that. But yeah, seeing Raheem, I always speak on like my experiences playing sports. Um, when I played my best coach that I ever played, I played college rugby, and my coach finally got through to me because he was a player's coach, and I never had that until I got to university and played rugby there. And I played my best rugby when I played under him. Uh, Prior to that, all my football coaches and all my rugby coaches were like, "Hey, you're an asshole. Go run 15 laps. Da da da. You fucked up. Go do 17 laps." Like, you know what I mean? Do 500 up downs. Do bear crawls across like 500. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, seeing a coach like Raheem, like I just know that those like players tend to, I don't want to say like them more because Raheem definitely could get more out of a person, but I feel like the players in the room is like a big breath of fresh air with them, like guys like Drake, guys like Kyle. We're new scheme, new people, and I think it's going to be really fun for those guys. But the one thing I wanted to say, like the thing that confused me with the Kirk Cousins Michael Penix thing was, oh, you're not going to see the benefits of drafting a rookie contract, like rookie quarterback. Like Michael Penix third year, he's still making like I think it's something like $10 or $9 million or something like that. I didn't look at the exact numbers because he didn't sign his contract yet. Like, do people realize like the medium is like $40 million? Like, you're still getting the benefit in year 3 and 4,
Yeah.
and then even when you pick up the fifth year, typically when you extend in the fourth year, the fifth year is they lower that to like even half of what they were supposed to get in the fifth year. So I mean, it's like they're still going to see after Kirk, they're going to have 3 years of roster construction that they can go all in, they can get it. And if Penix hits the ground running in year 3 like Jordan Love did, like the team's going to be in a fantastic spot both financially and just with the youth of the squad, right? Because Drake will be young, Bijan will still be young, Kyle will be young. Jesse will be hitting his 30s, but he's the position he plays, he's understanding like the defense as a whole, so he'll be smart enough to do it. So like, I mean, the pieces are there. They're just gonna have to just keep hitting in the off seasons, and like the biggest thing is like if Michael Penix hits in year 3 and he hits the ground running, like that's people got to understand that's the best thing for this franchise. And having to pay a quarterback is a good problem to have because that means you need that kind of guy, right? So it's a lot of confusion for me. Like a lot of the things when you draft Penix, like I get it, be upset, sure. Don't just make stupid things up. Like you know what I mean? Like in year 3, like you still have 3 years of roster construction to build a solid squad. So it doesn't make sense.
It seems like most people have kind of come around to it now. I think I don't, and honestly, it almost seems to me like the controversy that there is about this pick now is more like Penix should play sooner as opposed to later. So it's kind of funny how
now he's the best quarterback in the draft.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Like, exactly. I did some napkin math on this. I'm just reading this from a text I sent a friend the other day. I have the Falcons as, over the next 5 years, the most they'll pay would be next year at about $45 million. I have it at like 36, 45, 40, 22 and a half, and then whatever the 5th year option is. And that takes into account all the dead money that you would take from, this would be after moving on from Kirk after the 2nd year. So, that's not bad. That's not that bad, especially considering the fact that, the salary cap just went up $30 million per team this past year. Every contract, we just saw yesterday a couple, record signings for Antoine Winfield and other players. You're going to keep on seeing record, contracts for certain positions or whatever, because the overall, the market's inflated and that's a good thing for the players and the teams. It's good for everybody, that they're going to be making more money. I think a more accurate way for reporters to talk about how much money a player is making would be to make it relative to the salary cap. Like what percentage of the salary cap is this player being, are they making? Because that would more clearly convey or more accurately convey how much the team is, allocating towards this particular player in this particular position. But all in all, it's to say that the Falcons are not really, spending a ton at the position, at least relative to some other teams.
Yeah. Agreed. And I want to say to the chat, man, Bradley, what's going on, man? Marlon, good to see you, dude. Lisa, what's going on? And one time says, shout out to Joe, the Damski Millennium Falcons podcast. And Jack, we did. If you're still here, buddy, we did talk, or I boosted out the Rise Up tour, and I will do it again later in the show as well. All right, so and yeah, it does. I mean, I didn't want to bang on Arthur. I'm not banging on Arthur, but it seems like the like Adam said, like the press, it seems like a different atmosphere, like a lighter. Is it? Like, I mean, is it? It is okay. Like, okay. It's like it's not just appear that way from watching.
I'm glad you brought it back because I did want to talk about that too. Address that what Damski said, which is you're totally right. The perception that you have is like, when Raheem walks into the room, people kind of, naturally just start smiling and like perk up in their chair, and part of that's because he's new. Anytime I think you have a new coach, you're going to have an element of that, but. Obviously, a part of that is Raheem's personality and just the fact that he's like that. He's this upbeat, energetic, smiling kind of guy, and that makes you feel good. It's just like a human being thing where when you're around people who are like that, that's how you feel. And in Arthur Smith's case, when he's kind of standing up there and he's mean mugging and kind of doing this sardonic humor, dry, it's just like doesn't come off as well. At least for the people who are in a lot of the people who fill up that room, which are young reporters and stuff who, it's just different personalities. And I think that Raheem Morris fits great with the organization, fits great with, his role and what he has to do with media. And I can't wait to, have a better relationship with him. We're still very early into this thing. I think there's only been a few press conferences that we've done together. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I would also agree with, the criticisms of Arthur Smith, by the way, in terms of, like the way that he kind of dealt with media. I would definitely have criticisms for that. I think I see it a little bit differently because I had other interactions with him where he was definitely not in media mode. And so it helps like me understand that he's just kind of he's in this mode where he's just, he's trying to not give away too much information and, all this stuff. I don't think it played well for him.
It appeared to me like he was the type of coach that he just wanted to coach. Like he didn't like the.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah. Like he just
all he cares about is football.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, totally.
Like The media part was just like something he had to do, not that something he wanted to do or look forward to doing. Even though he may have had a good relationship with a lot of people, it was just kind of like that was just like, I gotta do that part of it. So
and even saying that, I would say like I think people liked kind of his stoicism in some of those press conferences when things were going well. The first couple of weeks, teams 2-0 in training camp. He's busting out the mustache. People were like, "Oh yeah, this guy's." It's like you just bring
or the beers. Remember, what was that last year? He was drinking the beers.
Cracked over the beers.
Loved it.
Yeah,
I was like,
over the beers after the game with the boys. Yeah. I mean, like definitely. But then when the results don't go your way, and I think that there was some. I don't want like not turmoil with the players, but I do think that it was when you're not having success, I think players naturally just start to question things. Are you putting us in the best position to succeed? Did you make the right decisions coming into this year to go us the right position? Put us in the right position to succeed. I think that, clearly I think players felt like they kind of had gotten screwed by the decision that the team made to go with Ritter because it became so clear early on in the season, frankly, that he was just not going to be the guy going forward and that they were just trying to persevere through this year. And I think that all kind of piled up on Ritter's shoulders as well. And you really saw kind of collapse there towards the end, it was hard to watch as someone who, again, you deal with this person, on a human level every week. And you just hate to see anybody struggle like that. And it's still tough for me, honestly, to like see the jokes made about him and that, but also you understand it just kind of comes with the business, comes with the territory. And Arthur, this is the thing I love that Arthur Smith would say was that like, we're not victims here. Like we get paid great. We are lucky to do this stuff for a living. And, he busts out the Latin quote, amor fati, which means like love of one's fate, which is like, so you just like, whatever happens to me in this business is going to happen. You just got to try to enjoy it the best you can. And the realities of the situation is that your job is very public and people have a right. Like that's the whole reason that you exist is almost for people to like have the right to criticize you or praise you based on the way that you perform. So it's just the nature of the business. And it's tough that it went that way for them that year. But, something that even, I think it was Darnell Mooney who was speaking today. And he mentioned that he kind of mentioned offhand just very quickly when he was responding to a question that like Drake and maybe Kyle, but definitely Drake like had issues with like some of the things that the scheme stuff that was happening last year. And again, I think with the quarterback that they were dealing with, it's kind of hard to like define what the actual root of that, displeasure was, but thought that was a little bit interesting.
Agreed. Yeah. And I mean, I think the last time, I don't know if we'd had you on before or after, but I started doing like a rudimentary like film basically review from like the Minnesota game on, and it wasn't like super in depth like QB school or anything like that. It was just basically my point was just like, okay, here's what I'm seeing kind of on a everyday Joe's level, like I wasn't trying to, and I wasn't like, I needed Damski on there to help me with some of that stuff. But it was
you're pretty good. Don't kill yourself. You're doing pretty good.
But it was week after week that you would see open looks all the time that were not getting hit or just missed or not even getting seen. And it wasn't, Arthur would get killed for the play call in that game. And it's like, and I would say it every week on the show, like, guys, like this is really more on the QB. Like there, don't get me wrong, there were some questionable plays throughout the game. Every game, there's always a handful of plays, but for the most part, literally for the most part, it was on whichever QB, Taylor included, he was terrible as he was equally bad. Like it was just bad QB play, and it was. I mean, there were plays to be had every game that would have changed the trajectory of those games. And we're not even having this conversation right now had that just been a average quarterback making those plays. And I'm not even a diss on Ritter or Taylor. That was just kind of the reality of it. But because I wanted to see it for myself, because after that so long, I'm like, man, is it really like? Is he really calling like this? Because I mean, I would get irritated with a few plays, but you really, the TV copy, unless you're at the game, you can't see everything going downfield, so it's like, let me check it out, and I saw it and I was like, okay, well, this is definitely not what I expected to see, but now I understand. So yeah, makes total sense.
And I think that's why he like, you got midway through the year and he starts, he pulls them in that Tennessee game, and then Heineke gets some starts. And I think that, what Arthur was battling was like, I have to give my team, I owe it to the players to give them the quarterback that gives them the best chance to win. And I think that that's the thing that he really wrestled with. And I at the time actually thought it was that he should not have pulled him yet at that point, that it's just kind of one of those things that you have to battle through with a quarterback like Ritter and where he was at the time. But I also understand where, Arthur and why he went the way he did. But I think that ultimately killed, Ritter's confidence, and
for sure,
he was ever the same guy after that.
No, agreed. And Lisa said, I feel like Jesse Bates expressed that sentiment recently. I think Arthur Smith was heavy in the locker room, well-intentioned, but it probably threw the players off. That's probably pretty accurate.
And it's not just Arthur. I think that it's like, this is what happens with every coach pretty much that ends up getting fired, is like, you don't get the results, and it's never like it's very rarely like a personal thing with players and the coach and disharmony that happens in the club. It's just, you just lose confidence. You lose faith in, leadership essentially. And this happens all the time, whether it's in football or any other industries. Like, when you lose confidence in leadership, then you have to replace that leadership. And then usually, like is happening now, there's a lot of energy behind the new regime, and you hope that it can kind of catch, like it catches and it take like the gears kind of catch and it takes off and things go smoothly, which it just never seemed to happen. It's a tough situation that Arthur was in, where you're trying to do this tear down and rebuild, and it's just so hard for all of that to go exactly how you want it to.
Yeah, agreed. All right, well, off of Arthur and on to these two guys, and I want both of you guys' opinion on this. Expectations for Troy Anderson and Richie Grant this year. Whoever wants to start.
I've been talking for a while. Damski can go first.
Okay,
go ahead.
That's so funny. I posted that picture the other day of Troy. I think it's Troy, Nate, and JD Bertrand, and it got some traction. And then I didn't even say anything. I just put smiley faces because they look like, you know what I mean? I'm one of those football people. I'm like, I just like dudes enjoying football. You know what I mean? It's a good picture. Like Zach Harrison's in there, just
wholesome.
Just vibes, just good vibes. And people are like, oh, why is Troy in there? He's terrible. I had some guy tell me today, oh, he's awful. Like, he's such a bust. I'm I don't like being that guy that's like, well, if you watch the film, you'll see this. And honestly, Troy Anderson was playing very good football. His best football of his career prior to his injury last year. And that's what made me so frustrated, because I really felt like, had he gone the 17 games, I really feel like we'd be like, hey, man, if Troy takes another step on the step that he just took, he's going to be a top 5 linebacker. And I'm not even kidding. I'm not even saying that just because if people knew my assessment of him early on, I didn't really like him. I'm not a fan of drafting just raw athletes. That's why I think I don't agree with the Rukaroro pick, because he's such a raw athlete, but he's an explosive athlete, so I get it. So I didn't like Troy Anderson early on, and I thought he's playing QB running back. So he doesn't. Linebacker is a very feel out position. You got to be able to feel out gaps, fit your run keys. I struggled with his physicality a bit in the run game. So he's not a guy that I love. So it's not like something I was like, oh man, he's the best. He's this. So this is something you see gradual development over time, and that I knew it was a long game with Troy. So the first year, gave him pass. Second year, he did okay. This is his third year this year, or is it his fourth?
That's right.
Third year.
Third year. So second year, he showed. First year, he started a lot of games because Mikael Walker and I think somebody else was awful, so he came in. And then second year, development again. That's what you want. First year, you see what you got. Okay. Second year, what did you do off your first year? Okay, it looks good now. And then I was like, oh man, playing good. Okay, well now injury. So. And I think the biggest thing with Troy too, because of his injury, I'm wondering if he's going to struggle with the physicality, and because the pec injury is hard, because anything you're pressing on, right, Mike, or John, anything you try to press up on against, you're going to kind of feel if you're already hesitant going into that when you're 100%, doing that with a pec injury is probably going to scare you a little bit, so you get a better feel for how that works, right? So I think the first couple of games, it was a lot like Taquan Graham last year. He was awful. When he first came back from the Achilles, but the last 4 or 5 games, he really started to be able to take on double teams. He got 2 starts, I think, at the end of the year when Grady and Andamata and Katavius Street was out, and he started to look himself, right? So it's just one of those things. I don't know if the fan base is going to give Troy time, but I'm hoping that the coaching staff does, because I really feel like he's just on the cusp of like just breaking through and being a good player. He played will linebacker last year. I'm hoping he kind of sticks in that same spot. In the Fangio defense, they actually call it Jack, not Will. Will's kind of he's a pass rusher, he's not an off ball linebacker. So it basically Caden Ellis will be the Mike, I'm assuming, and then Troy will be the Jack, which is a will in traditional defenses. So I think like he's still going to have that freedom to roam around, make plays. He's very much a see ball, get ball linebacker. Like the second he sees it out, like it's gone, it's done. You'll kill it right away. And then his leverage on coverages was improving too. So I just hope he gains that confidence, and like I said, I hope the coaching staff does well with him. And I hope they give him the chance to just keep playing. But I know like they drafted their guy JD Bertrand, and I was telling Joe the other day, JD Bertrand's already seeking out coverage stuff. He was working with Oliver Davis, who works with all of our DBs, basically DeMarco Helms, AJ Terrell, Jeff Okuda was going there last year, D. Alford. So he's going to he's trying to develop into a full time a do everything linebacker. So I mean, Troy's going to have JT coming at his throat. And then Nate Landman, I think, is going to be the backup Mike to Caden. So I think Troy's going to have a good year if he can stay healthy. But if he goes down, it's going to be the Caden and Nate Landman show. I'm excited for that. But I want to see Troy. I want to see another full. If we get 17 games of Troy, I'm pretty sure our tune from now to then will be very, very different. Richie Grant, it's. I kind of fell off of the bandwagon. I didn't really look into like why he was benched later on in the season. I'm pretty sure it was because of open field tackles he was missing a lot of, and that's just obviously if you're a safety, that's a big no-no. You can't miss open field tackles. But if you look at it, like he's very much a zone safety. And if you just look at the uptick of like what Raheem's probably going to run if you go with the trends that he did in Los Angeles. You would think that he's a better fit for what they're going to try to do. But you can only say these excuses so many times for Richie, right? A lot of the times, it's like, well, he's man coverage and then he loses. Well, like if he just 4 years now, if it's just the same trend, then obviously he's just not a good man coverage player, right?
Yeah.
I'm curious to see if he even wins the job over DeMarco. From what it looks like they're not bringing in safety help. They're looking at corner help. So it's really going to be up to Richie and DeMarco Helms to really see what's up there. The expectations for Richie this year, just be good, just be average, man. If you're average and Jesse Bates is like as good or as great as he was, you'll be okay, man. Don't blow tackles, don't blow coverages, and make some. Like my rationalization is too. They got so many damn DB coaches in there, like good DB coaches. That it's like our coverages should be really good. So for Richie, it's just just get 1% better every day. A little Dan Quinn quote for
there you
go.
Yeah. DeMarco's been starting, which I think is interesting. He's basically looks like to me like he's running as the starter right now when the first team defense is in there. Again, it's May, so it's very early. That could definitely
even in
change.
nickel. Joe?
In nickel.
Okay.
Yeah, it's typically Mike Hughes as the boundary corner, and then Alford in the nickel, and then Helms at safety with Bates. Yeah.
That's interesting.
But I did see him rotate in for some first team reps today too. So I think that they're definitely kind of in a battle, essentially, classic training camp battle that will happen this summer. So that will be interesting. And I don't really have that much more to say about Richie. I hope he can. I do wonder if maybe he has to embrace more of a role like the team had for Isaiah Oliver in 2022, where he came back and he was kind of he was in this nickel and he was playing a lot closer, more interior and closer to the line of scrimmage. And it does seem like maybe that could be a fit that Richie Grant has. That's not a type of player that you draft with a second round pick, but that's what he probably is for this team, at least at this point. So that is what it is. I think that for Troy Anderson, the the potential is a lot greater there. Yeah. And it's so like people call him a bust because they didn't see him play last year because he was out injured. And it's like, okay, well, not a lot you can really do about that. And I do definitely agree with you, Damski, about his like deficiencies. Very clear about like the physicality. He's just not a run stuffer. Like that's not, and that's not, I think what they need him to do or, expect him to do on a regular basis. He has to cover, right? Like what they really like about Troy Anderson is that he allows them to do different things to figure out the back end coverage. They like, because when you have a player with his type of athleticism, you can just change things and make things much more unpredictable for quarterbacks based on the way that you can use a player like Troy in coverage. And so that's what they really like about him. And I totally agree with you that I thought that it was pretty eye-opening those first couple games that he had last year before he got hurt. I thought he looked a lot better because I did think that he got lost a little bit in coverage that first year. He was just kind of a little bit reactive instead of kind of being proactive and just a step behind you. And it's a shame because he has that he's got the athleticism, but he was just kind of a step behind. I thought that he was much more kind of on top of things early in last year before he got hurt. So that was unfortunate. I will say to me, and I don't know, sometimes it just happens with me when I haven't seen a player for a long time and then you see him again, but like he looks physically bigger to me. Like his legs look bigger.
I thought that too.
Yeah.
I like just looking at photos, his back looks a lot bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. He looks like he's put on a lot of good weight. So that's something to be hopeful about.
Yeah. I mean, especially if you're talking about if he still has that speed running it. Any bigger you're going to get with the same speed, that's always a good thing. So, yeah.
Oh, and one other thing that people might not know is that he actually lives with Nate Landman during the season. So, like all last year, even though Troy was hurt, he was at home and they were breaking down tape. They were kind of like doing everything together. And, Nate talked about, they kind of like work together to kind of get him ready to play on Sundays. And so, it's good to have that kind of camaraderie too. It's funny just how that's worked out with the linebacking core, not so much with JD, but like with the other three, they're all kind of like from that Mountain West area and just kind of have that kind of common bond with all of them being from like the Utah, Montana area. So it's good. It's a good group.
I'll add too to the Troy Anderson thing. Like if they're doing the same thing from the Rams stuff, like they run like a 5-man pressure package and they run like a dime package where a safety comes down, there's a dime linebacker there. Like that's like Troy Anderson's like if you're trying to peg him into a defense, like a dime linebacker is exactly where you want to put him. So if that's like if Joe was saying, hey, that's what they like to do with him, I could imagine we're going to still see the 5-0 looks, and then you're going to have Troy Anderson have a really good defense. But then you're looking at a guy like Richie, how they factor in. Richie would probably be a good spot for that 50 front where he comes into the box and is covering little intermediate stuff instead of deep stuff, right?
Yeah.
So like there's avenues for Troy to look very, very good this year. I just hope that he's healthy, and I like our linebacker core. I know there's a lot of projection with like Troy Anderson and like what he can be, but if he just continues what he was doing last year, I mean, I really feel like they're going to get him in the right spot. Honestly, a really underrated move this year, two of them was Ike Hilliard as receivers coach. I think he's not a lot of people. We're probably the ones that understand how good he was back in the day.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Barrett Ruud was a great linebacker back in the day too. He was just always injured, but he was like one of the more instinctual players I remember when I first started playing like high school football, he was in the league and he was doing well, and he was a guy that I like studied that I liked. And those I think are two very underrated coaching hires. Like I'm really excited to see those guys and what they can do with their rooms. I like our linebacker room, and I'm curious to see how it shakes out. And like I said, JT Bertrand can be that guy, but I think Troy's going to have a really good year and finally kind of put some things to rest there in Twitterverse.
And what Troy lacks in physicality, I think it really helps that they kind of had this discovery in Nate Landman last year that they can, that you've got this kind of sledgehammer type of linebacker that you can bring in when you need. So it gives them a lot of versatility in terms of the personnel packages that they can put together with what linebackers are on the field to best suit what the team needs in that moment. And like even today, I saw, Troy not like lined up on the edge, but almost like kind of like creeping up on a blitz and then, coming off the edge with D'Angelo Malone on the other side. I know that that's something that they like that he brings is just, with his pure speed and athleticism and ability to just, not be an edge. Cause I know a lot of people have talked about, would you just like change his position? That's not going to happen, but no doubt they're going to use him as a blitzer just because they know he can be so disruptive by getting into the backfield so quickly and just disrupting things like that. So. And he had a nice pass breakup today too. A nice, real clean one against like a Tyler Algier wheel route. Troy did.
Did he? Just covering a wheel.
Just shadowing Algier on the wheel route, and then as soon as the hands went up, just stuck the hand out. So it was a no look, but clean hand to it. Yeah, got a lot of cheers from the coaching staff and the players.
I'll say to you about Landon, man. I was just looking through like old threads that I did, like. Dude is just so angry when he plays football. Dude, like
his highlights I
was watching a thread against the Packers when he was playing the Packers. I think that might have been his first start. And there was a guard puller, and he hit the guard so hard that it hit the running back, and they both fell down. I'm like, dude, that dude's got a different kind of strength. Like,
yeah,
I'm excited. I like watching him play football, man. Like he's an old school, like I remember Al Wilson back in the day with the Broncos, and he used to blow shit up. Like he's the same throwback kind of player. But they were saying they think the days of the 220-pound linebacker are done because box counts these days, the 240, 245, 250 linebackers are going to have to come back in the game.
I'm all for it. That was the best times, man. You just had these big freak.
I'll send you the clip after, John. You're gonna be like, "Yo, that's."
Oh yeah, definitely. Hell yeah, definitely. That's. I mean, I miss those guys. We were talking about that not long ago about how the linebacker positions changed so much over the last 20 years, 25 years, where they weren't asked to do things like this. Now you basically have to be an amazing athlete that can not only cover but fit the run. And get out on receivers, get out on tight end. You got to do everything as a linebacker now. So it's changed a lot since early when we were watching. But and I can't say much more than what y'all already said with Troy, and I totally agree. And with the amount of, Raheem definitely ran a lot of simulated pressures in Los Angeles. You would think that'd probably continue here, and the more athletic guys you have, or it makes the offense sit there and go like, damn, we don't know who's coming. Because they're all capable of doing it, but we don't know. Like that's great because you're going to put them in a bad spot. Richie, I mean, I was like with Adam, I was defending Richie. Like me and Adam were like out front with like swords, and like there's like we were the Game of Thrones.
Just me and John.
That was it. That was it. We were Jon Snow. Like we were like, no, it's not it. And then I think it was the Bucks game when Kate Otten making just look stupid at the end there, like and I was just like, okay, I can't do it anymore. Like I have to physically stop at this point because that took it out of me. But and then and as weirdly enough, folks were wanting DeMarco like all season, and like you think I would because I'm an Alabama fan. And I was happy we drafted him, but like I was trying to tell folks like he wasn't great in coverage at Alabama. Like that was definitely his Achilles heel, and that's why he went so late in the draft. Like he was a liability in coverage. He obviously those few. The few preseason games, he looked a lot better in coverage, obviously against vanilla offenses, vanilla looks, and everything like that. But still, you can see there's an improvement. And then during the season, you can see an improvement. So I'm like, all right, well, maybe with Jerry Gray and these guys, like he's getting better. You can't just be faster. Like you can't just all of a sudden wake up one day and be faster. But like you can be smarter. You can study better. You can all that do all that things as a safety. I think both those guys definitely work better up in the box than they do obviously covering a deep third of anything. And I think you're right, Adam. I think like you don't want Richie covering a deep part of the field at all. Like that's where he struggled a lot last year. And I don't know. Like that's one of the questions I was going to ask you, Joe. Now you already kind of answered it. Was do you think DeMarco could push him for the starting job? But I guess if he's already seeing some reps, then that might be the case. Then
that Cardinals tight end got Richie too. I forget.
Sure did, and he talked about it after the game too.
Yeah. That was a bad one. That was a bad look.
Wasn't he a rookie tight end? Right, his rookie tight end. He's like,
it's rookie or second year or something like that. Yeah, but he had like his career high game against him.
Yeah. I think in the press conference after the game, he was like,
Trey McBride.
Yes. And he said, I kept seeing him on me. I was like, hey, just keep throwing it to me, man. I'm like, damn, really? Like, that hurts, man. That hurts. But, all right, well, last question, and we'll get out of here. We're up at about an hour and 20 minutes. CB2 has obviously been a conversation for a while now. And we kind of thought that, Kelly Witherspoon was one option before, that played with Raheem, possibly would come over. I know we got homeboy from the Cardinals, Antonio. But like, do y'all see? I know we just hosted Jerry Jacobs, right? Or he's visiting or is visiting soon. So, you're talking about like Mike Hughes out there, Clark Phillips out there, and listening to what Raheem said, he loves Clark. They like Clark a lot. They asked Raheem about, does he prefer a tall corner, or is he okay with a shorter corner? And he said, well, hey, I had the pleasure of coaching Rondé Barber at 5'9", and I coached Aqib Talib at 6'1", and he's like, Rondé could play ball. If he was here, I would take him today. So it's like I'm not. We've seen Clark, at least in college, cover bigger guy. He not shut down, but he handled Drake pretty damn well when he played him in college. So like and we know what kind of grit the guy has, but how do you see CB2 shaking out, Joe?
So my prediction, Mike Hughes is kind of the guy, seems to be the guy right now. Though, yeah, to your point, Raheem has said that they love Clark's movements. Again, he always says he uses this word movement.
Elite
I actually like.
Elite
I think he's literally like looking at the way you kind of like your gait, your like the way that you cut. I think that he is actually kind of like looking at these things. But So Mike Hughes is it now. I think Clark is going to win this job because I think that he's going to have a really good training camp. Like because he's the kind of player who can make a lot of plays. He's a playmaker, and he might get beat sometimes too. He certainly will with his size profile. It's just going to happen. But I really think that he's going to make enough plays throughout training camp that he's going to convince these coaches that he's their best option. So that would be my prediction of the way this goes. As for D. Alford, I think that he's like his playing time is basically locked in. Like he's almost more of a starter than any of the guys who are competing for the CB2 job because they're going to be in nickel 70% of the time, if not more. So he's going to definitely be playing a lot for this team. And it kind of comes down to Mike Hughes and Clark Phillips for me. And I think that Clark is gonna see it himself starting week 1. That'll be my prediction.
How you feel about that,
Adam? Mike Hughes is interesting to me. I would prefer, and like I know Raheem said it before, like young guys are going to play, and I think those specifically were like talking about DeMarco Helms, Clark, and D. Alford, right? So I don't know, but like something in me is saying like I don't know if they're pushing to like win this year because I feel like if they were, like the easiest question would be to have paid Bud Dupree, like he got barely anything from the Chargers, and then bring in a guy like Akila Witherspoon that has familiarity with your defense and who plays average football, right? Who would, in my opinion, be an upgrade to what Mike Hughes was, but it's like I just don't know how much they're gonna push for it. I would personally, if this is how the roster is, Jerry Jacobs comes and goes and we don't sign him, I would prefer to see Clark start there. And I think in a fair 1-versus-1 camp battle, I think Clark would beat Mike Hughes out. I just think Mike he's been way too inconsistent his whole career. But Mike's a valuable player because he can play multiple spot plus special teams. So, like, when people were trying to cut him, I'm like, it doesn't make sense because he can play inside, outside, and I think he plays most special teams. So he's a valuable player and he's making like $2.5 million. So, and we know AJ Terrell typically misses a game or two every year, just the physicality that he plays with. So it's good insurance for him. And same with the Hamilton cat that we signed from the Cardinals. He might be insurance for AJ Terrell as well. That being said, I would prefer that they brought in a guy like Jerry Jacobs, just somebody who's got like quality starts under his belt. Like Mike Hughes had quality starts way long ago, but we haven't seen it. And even when he came in when D. Alford randomly got benched for no reason, because D. Alford was playing good last year, it wasn't like Hughes was giving you good quality starts then. Like he was missing tackles, his coverage wasn't great. It just didn't make sense to me. And now that we're using him as a boundary corner, I get it because he's got length. And if you're playing, like typically I've seen the coverage charts. If you're playing like cover 3 and quarters coverage, or kind of you're just playing like a quarter of the field, the length helps. But if you're constantly getting burnt and stuff, like it just doesn't make sense. But I'm gonna stick to my guns and say that'll be a vet. End up being a vet come training time. Maybe it's Jerry Jacobs, maybe it's a Kilo, maybe it's.
Yeah, I should have added that if they do sign someone, I think that player will be the starter.
Yeah,
there'd be a reason for signing.
That would be the only reason they would do it. Yeah,
because
they see him as being their starter.
Yeah, and I mean they did make a few later additions last year. I mean when they into the summer that they ended up playing, I mean, some good minutes. So yeah, that makes sense to me. Berto, what's going on, buddy? Good to see you, man. Chris, what's going on, man? Sorry, I neglected the chat there for a second. I had the full screen, so I couldn't see what was going on. But yeah, man. So here we go. Chris saying, yeah, Smoking Joe. Yeah, that's
nice,
right, man.
Nice.
Liam, what's going on, dude? I guess he got back from his run. Yeah, so checking if anybody had any questions in the chat, then we can move on yeah, Kerry said not a big Mike Hughes fan, respectfully. There wasn't a whole lot of Mike Hughes fans last year, to be honest, there because most times that he was in, something bad was happening.
Pretty poor. I mean, I thought he was pretty poor last year.
I did too. Yeah.
Later in the season, I thought you could see why they liked him for the run support. He was like a nickel, he was kind of more stout. But I don't know if that's a reason why, like, those guys are out there to cover.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we'll definitely be, Lisa. We'll be at training camp at least one day. I'm sure Joe obviously going to be there. Yeah, but we'll be there. We made it one day last year. We're going to try to make it once. I'm sure it's going to be insane this year though, with the additions and everything. I'm sure it's going to be even. It was a great atmosphere.
Last year was insane, and and I feel it. Yeah, last year was crazy. There was one day there was a freaking line, like just crazy up the street. I don't know how long those people must have been waiting in line to get in. I imagine this year it's going to be even crazier. They got a quarterback actually now.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's like, I mean, to y'all's point earlier, when you talking about like when Arthur had the mustache and everything going on, like I mean, it had that photo of him smiling with that mustache, and we posted it, and my dumb ass tweeted out, was like, "Man, we were kicking some ass this year." And then I've got like 400 people coming after me after this season, like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I got nothing for you." Like, I was, you're gonna win some and lose some, and I definitely lost that one. One time, so I have esports in 3 hours, nothing to do anymore. Hey man, that's what we're doing. We're just talking Falcons. That's all we're doing. Then Jackson Country and I are planning something cool for fans coming to camp this year. Awesome, man. Keep us posted for sure, dude. And Berto said, barring a shocking trade, CP3 is CB2. Yeah, I would think so as well, man. That's what we all kind of seeming like that's going to be the case, man. But anyway, Adam, you got any last questions for Joe before we get out of here?
No, I mean, just keep asking the good questions because they're all I got in there. No, just no.
We don't need any tampering questions. We got enough of those that Kirk's not going to answer. So we don't need to like ask him more. Like that killed me. I'm like, how many times? Like, really, he's not going to say like, it's probably going good. Like, I mean, come on, dude. Like you're not going to say anything. But Anyway, sorry.
No, I don't. I don't know much. Well, I'll ask this, Joe, because this one caught me by fucking surprise today. Sorry for my language. What's going on with Bijan? Did he tweak it at OTAs or what?
With who?
Bijan?
I think they said it was an ankle injury. I didn't know about it until today.
Has he been to OTA?
Okay. Yeah, he was there. Yeah, he was there. He was like kind of hanging out with the running backs wherever they went today. So he was out on the field, just in some in athletic gear.
Yeah, Raheem fucking snuck that one in there today. I was okay.
Kind of made me laugh. He had like a, Bijan had like his like track pants on and like a t-shirt, and then he had like the track top that was like draped around his shoulders and like tied up in front. Like,
I love that guy, man. He's all I got.
Yeah,
and Jace was out too, right, from rookie minicamp. He wasn't there.
Yeah, he is not.
But he's recovering from a pre-draft injury, right?
That's what they said. Yeah,
that's something like that.
Okay.
Another little note today was that, speaking of Bijan, when I noticed him, was when actually Kirk went over. They had, run some plays, and then Kirk went over to where the running backs were standing and was like definitely like demonstrating some like ways that I'm going to hand the ball off and kind of where I need you. And he was talking to him about like, you could see him like talking about like turning your shoulders a certain way when I do this. So it was cool to see him working with those guys again, just to kind of like refine these little things. And you could like kind of see from a distance them all being like, oh yeah, I get what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. So again, it's just kind of that leadership where it's like, no way that something like that was going to happen with, Desmond Ridder. No offense to him. It's just like what happened.
No, yeah. Dude, I mean, 13 years, was it 12 years in the league, 13 years in the league? I mean, that's, and to be the type of guy he is, no doubt about it, man. And like, and one last thing too, I heard Darnell Mooney's talking about their trip to John Gruden's place, apparently office
how'd this not
in Tampa.
Yeah.
I know, right. And to basically, watch routes concept. I mean, it's him and Kyle Pitts and I think Drake London, right?
Yeah.
And with Kirk, because Kirk was the one that took him down there. And just watching a bunch of film, and breaking it down, and it's hilarious because I think Darnell said they talked about things that they don't like or things that drive them crazy or that they hate. Yeah. And Darnell said he told Kirk that he hates it when they check down on 7-on-7, so don't do any check downs on 7-on-7.
It's like we're doing 7. What's the point of checking it down? When,
right, exactly.
It's like let's actually, let's try.
And they said, and they said what Kirk said that he hated when the receivers celebrated when they made a catch. And Darnell's like, dude, I'm sorry. If we make a hell of a catch, we're going to celebrate. You're going to
have to not like it here for a second.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll ask this too, because this is just something I've been noticing. But do you think we'll see a lot of Ray McCloud? And two, just to ask another question, and I'm good. Kyle Pitts, like, is that neat? Like, is he planting better this year, noticeably?
He definitely looks more comfortable for sure. I would say for sure he looks like, and honestly, it even comes through in just like the way that he talked to media, where it's just like he seems just happier on the field, just like enjoying himself more. And that's because I'm sure he was like playing through some like pain and maybe not pain, but like just like discomfort, when he's out there, and just it frustrates you. You're not able to kind of be as happy on the field as you want. So I definitely got the sense that he is definitely feeling better. And then what was the other one?
I was just saying, like, we're seeing a lot of Ray McCloud.
Oh, yeah, Ray. Yeah. I haven't seen him taking many offensive reps, honestly, but I think he's basically like a core special teamer. I think he's going to be like their kick. Okay. He's like their kick returner, basically.
And then Rondell Moore's look good, yeah.
You know what? I haven't really noticed much of him. It's still so early, and I would caution that like they're not in pads, and also like what we're watching, we're field level, and you're kind of like looking through a wall of people who are standing in the way, so you're not like always getting the best look. So I'll hold out on that. I honestly didn't even notice him. I noticed that he's still wearing number 9, still number 9 on their roster. They have 2 number 9s with Penix and Rondale Moore. So I think he must be holding out for like somebody to get cut or some number to change so that he can.
Somebody said he switched to 14. I thought I read on
Twitter. Did they? Oh, well, maybe that's why I missed him, because he was number 9 on the roster that they gave us, and I just didn't recall seeing that. So that'd be funny if that's the case.
Yeah, he's an exciting player. I'm curious to see like those 2 roles.
I remember watching him when, as an Ohio State fan, watching him at Purdue. He was like, wow, with his athleticism, Yeah. So I think that there's definitely room there for them to get something out of him.
Well, my last question, Joe, outside of the rookies that we drafted, anybody stand out from the guys we brought in, or anybody like kind of just catch your eye that, could be a surprise ad or anything like that?
I think I mentioned it earlier on the show, but like Casey Washington had a really nice diving catch by the sidelines. That was probably like the standout play that I saw today from like one of these types of guys. And so I think that he's just kind of like a no like name ID to him. There's like no expectations. I think that he's going to be anything more than a special teamer. And I think that he could be. So I think that there's potentially something there. I'm looking forward to seeing more of him. And yeah, it was funny about the whole like John Gruden trip. I can totally see John Gruden like sitting down with Kyle Pitts and be like, Kyle Pitts, like, and just like trying to like motivate him, do all the John Gruden thing. But and they all said, they were like, Darnell Mooney's like, he's a special person, John Gruden. I think they all just like had a huge appreciation and sitting down with him, and he told Kyle Pitts the grandfather of the choice route was Art Monk. He's always like giving them like,
And Kyle said it made me feel old as shit. He was like, I didn't know they had film back then. I'm like, you shitting me, dude? Like, come on, man. Like, I didn't need that reminder.
But again, to bring it back to Kirk, it's something where it's like right when he signed, like this was like something that I guess he wanted to do. So he was like, all right, guys, like, we'll be in town for these dates. These are our opportunities. Let's figure it out at a time where we can all get down there. And so then they planned it out that far early. And then obviously the trip happened last week. So just cool to see Kirk kind of initiating a lot of that stuff. Coach Kirk, as Jesse Bates called him.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, Kirk had a really good thing to say about Jesse too. I'm sure y'all saw that. He was saying, he ate with them in the lunchroom and said, like, if this is the leader of our defense, then we're in really good hands because he's the guy, so that's overall, guys. I mean, I think our quarterback room is going to be fine. I think that I think Penix and Kirk's going to get along just fine. They know their roles. They know what they're there for. They're all pulling in the same direction. I think anything else outside of that is just going to be made up stuff that they're trying to, to the media, not you, Joe, like I said, but other people trying to, just kind of make a story out of something that's not really there. It's not like you have Kirk's history is not something that you can just look at and be like, oh yeah, he's going to really just be a dick to this guy. And he's not going to, like, come on, like that's not going to be Kirk. He's going to be professional and be, what we saw on the quarterback show on Netflix. I mean, for sure. So, but one last question then for both of you guys, because schedule release is tomorrow. Is Pittsburgh the game you're most looking forward to, or is there a game that we know who we're playing, or is there a team other than Pittsburgh you're most looking forward to playing?
I mean, I'm not looking forward to a particular game so much as I'm just looking forward to seeing if they're going to get like a Sunday or Monday night game, because it's like you could say primetime game, but really the primetime games are like Sunday and Monday night, especially the Sunday night. I think that's like the premium game to have now. And that's the one I want. That's the one I want for this Falcons organization. I know that's what they want too. They want to show off the stadium that they've had for a long time. They just have not really been able to showcase like they've wanted to. So that's what I'll be looking out for more than any particular matchup. I'll definitely be circling the Steelers one for sure.
Oh yeah. How about you, Damski? Can you hear me? Did your headphones die?
We lose them.
Hello?
I can sort of hear you. There we go. Can you hear me?
On the
But anyway, that's fine. If he comes back, can you hear me, Damski? I think his mic is dying. But
can you hear me?
There we go.
Now we got you.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No.
I really wanted to answer this one too.
Good.
So I'm coming back to Atlanta in December again, and remember last year they were away the Sunday that I was there.
Yep.
So that's the only game I care about. I'm hoping that they're there this year when I'm there, just so I can book it and go to that one and cross that off my list. I've seen them in Detroit, Buffalo, and I've seen them when they came to Toronto for the Toronto series with Buffalo. So I drove past the Mercedes-Benz, so like I want to actually go in, and I just didn't have time. That weekend, as you know, John, I was completely slammed. Youth National Championship is actually a crazy thing. I didn't realize it was that crazy. So,
especially in Georgia, dude.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was a crazy experience. I'd never seen so many NFL players and their kids in one spot, but it was nuts. But yeah, I'm hoping that's the only game I care for. And then that's really it, honestly.
I love it, man. Well, we'll like I said, guys, we'll try to be back on Thursday night, just talking about schedule release and what we're looking forward to and anything new that pops up between now and then. But Joe, man, thanks so much, dude, for coming by again. Sorry, like I said, Mike couldn't be here, but I appreciate you coming by and talking rookies and everything Falcons, man. And
it's a good time. It was fun.
Yeah, dude. We'll definitely do it again. Probably before the season starts. And anything you want to plug for the radio station or anything you got?
You can follow me on Twitter at jpatrick200. Listen to 929 The Game if you're in the Atlanta area. How about that? And if you guys do, or if you're going to training camp or whatever, hit me up. Let me know. I'd love to,
definitely
shake your hand, meet you guys in person. And Damski, if you're coming down to Atlanta for a game, definitely let me know.
For sure, absolutely.
Yeah, well, once we can figure out the day, we'll definitely, because my kid's going to for sure make me go at least one day. He racked up last year. Mike had him, CP signed everything for him, signed his jersey, and then like he had so many signatures on his hat. So yeah, we're definitely doing that again.
Nice.
Adam, buddy, anything you want to plug, man?
Just the new Millennium Falcon. I actually think I'm doing a podcast with them. I finally got time to get on with them and exercise some demons because those guys get on me. But scheduling, how scheduling is. So
yeah, man,
it is what it is. But yeah, follow them, and then I'm just on Twitter making Joe mad with my Desmond Ritter jokes at Damski 32.
Did you see Trey's joke the other day about his number?
Probably, no. Yes, yeah, I did. Yeah,
Trey, he said, man, this man really picked the number of turnovers he had last year for his number. I was like,
yeah, Trey's a special name, and I love that guy.
I love him. So funny, man. But anyway, man, thank you all so much for coming by tonight in the chat, hanging out with us. And we had right now we're right around 400 people between YouTube and Twitter, so we appreciate y'all for. Nice. Dude, yeah, Twitter. I had no idea we were that big on Twitter until they started actually showing the numbers in StreamYard. I was like, it dwarfs YouTube, which is cool. But so if y'all are on Twitter, feel free to come over and subscribe to the channel. It just helps us out a little bit. So it's on this, well, you can still watch us on Twitter. Just subscribe anyway. Yeah, we appreciate y'all, man. And if you're listening to us, like I said, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, drop us a 5-star review. We much appreciate that. And like I said, hopefully Mike and I'll be back. We haven't done a show together in like a month, so we'll be back on Thursday night together. And he's hopefully in one piece after moving furniture all evening tonight. We'll hope to see that. But guys, again, appreciate y'all. And we will see y'all on Thursday. Much love.